A Few Goldilock Bears podcast with Vincent Cloud.
John Emmett.
And David Lauer.
And this is the show where we talk about loves and hates and differences. But before we do any of that, we like to talk about old topics and to provide some follow-ups or whatever.
I've got
the
a deja
segment,
vu. I just thought of one.
yeah? All right.
Yeah.
Well, the segment's called Deja Vu. Go
All
ahead,
right.
whoever.
I heard a good quote that about free will that kind of it goes towards my position on it. You are free to do whatever you want, but you can't control what you want.
Ooh. Oh my gosh, I like that. I mean, to side with that side, that's a good word. That totally works. Ooh,
That's a
man.
good quote. I like that.
Yeah, that's my Facebook status quote, Dave. I call dibs.
That's my
No.
AOL Instant Messenger away
I'm going to
message.
attribute that quote to Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Any other deja vus?
Um,
Worth a deja vu?
uh,
Oh, he's
well, okay.
sheepish.
I am a little sheepish because it's really dumb. But like I had a weird position on something, which was I only brush my teeth in the morning and I don't do it at night. I only do it once a day. And I was talking to somebody camping over the weekend, and the other guy who's like my age, like I know him, like we're friendly, but like I don't know him that well. And he was like, "Yeah, I don't brush my teeth at night. I only do it in the morning." And I was just like, "Hell yes, good man."
And he smiled and he had like 5 teeth missing.
Yeah.
I love that both your deja vus are just confirmations for yourselves.
Yeah.
Isn't that what that segment's for?
No. Wait,
What?
is it? I don't know.
I had another deja vu, and it was just a confirmation of my own bias. Because I was late to get on, and it was because I was taking care of my kids. Oh no, wait, I don't have kids. I have cats. I was taking care of my fucking cats that like piss me off and annoy me. But I bought these cats and I have them living in my house, so I have to fucking defend them and be like, no, my cats are great. I love my cats, even though they're a pain in my fucking ass every single day. But like, it's like I dug my own grave, and I just have to like, I will go down with the ship of like, cats are great, just to like defend my poor decision making.
Right. This is turning into an oops all deja vu. So let's start the actual show. I will start. I will give you guys choice. I love choose your own adventure books. I hate spontaneous human combustion, and I'm indifferent to feet.
I gotta hear what you gotta say about feet.
All right. All right. So
Take
I'm
them or leave them. Cut them off. I don't care.
I am diabetic after all. Okay, no, I'm not. But so different to feet.
Not
The
yet.
first thing, oh my gosh. The first thing is Tarantino loves them. I'm like, I never thought of feet really, but he loves them. And he wrote so Salma Hayek could stick her feet in his mouth in From Dusk Till Dawn. It's fucking weird. But anyways, I don't want to be too judgmental. It's just Tarantino, I think, is a weird guy. There's that, but there's also I dated a girl who hated feet. She was just like, I don't know, she's like, they're gross and like, don't touch me with them. And, like, and I was like, what do you mean? Like, can you go deeper into it? Why do you hate them? And she's like, no, I just, And I'm like, you're a valedictorian. Like, you should be able to use your words or something. But she just hated him so much. She was just like, that's the end of it. So like, socks remained on while we knocked boots,
That sounds
And
awful.
so yeah, it was such a weird thing with her. But again, I'm like, I don't even think about feet. However, when I do, it would have to be just about my own. Um, and I guess it's just because of my toenails. Both my big toenails became ingrown, so like they're fucking velociraptor claws. And it's yeah, it's pretty it sucks, but I guess it's a hereditary thing. So because I was like, was there something I could have done to prevent it? But apparently not. I think it would have happened anyways. So my son or daughter, if I choose, God willing, they're gonna have velociraptor claws as well. That's fucked up. Um, and then uh before I thought of this, there was a chart. They're like, oh, Greek have this sort of feet, and the Mongolians have this sort of foot. And I'm like, oh
Oh
shit.
yeah, I think I've seen that where like if your second toe is longer than your big toe or that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've seen the same thing.
So, but I also know that feet are different because there's me and my brother Donovan are Foster's children. Our dad was Foster, and then everyone else was Forrest's children, and they all have his feet. They're like like fucking Fred Flintstone feet, just real square and shit. And mine is what I would consider a more normal looking foot, but apparently
Ooh.
that doesn't exist. Like I was saying, they showed that chart. If anything, my other siblings had the Mongolian feet. They're kind of more square, you know. And I don't know. I don't think they're the most beautiful looking thing in the world. Feet in general. I've seen some cute feet, but it is sort of something where it's like, well, because we're walking on them and we're wearing shoes, yeah, they do smell. So I don't really consider going near the foot. I don't know. What do you guys think about feet?
Pretty indifferent myself. I think, yeah, like a a smelly, just, wore shoes and socks all day and just took them off kind of foot is pretty gross. Um, a clean foot is fine or whatever. Um, I watched what's it? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood just recently. Um, and just knowing that about Tarantino, it's just so obvious, like in his movies now. Like I was watching it on an airplane, so it was like fine, but I'm just imagining like being in a theater and like there's like a foot taking up like 30% of your vision, basically. It's kind of funny.
I don't
Um,
remember these parts at all, but now there's gonna be like a red flag going off when I watch his movies.
yeah, it was more like because I was watching for it, I think. I'm like, oh, I bet there's gonna be foot stuff in this, and he didn't disappoint. Um, but yeah, I've definitely met people who, yeah, like just even like fresh out of the shower, like that's gross. Like, get your feet away from me.
Oh,
Um, the and like it's so like you said, being that we walk around on them, it's so short of time that they're actually truly clean, you know. I remember watching a streamer on Twitch or something one time, and he was doing like a ask me anything session. And someone asked him like, "Are you more attracted to feet or armpits?" And like he had to answer it. I think he went armpits.
well, I don't know. I don't know what to choose either.
Whichever one has less hair.
Oh yeah, the hobbits, right?
I hate feet.
Oh
I
my
think it's a
God.
weird stance to be indifferent on feet. Like I hate feet, but like I like the majority of I think regular people probably have regular feet and regular feet are fine.
What do you
But
mean by regular feet though?
because I work in the medical field, so I take
Oh, okay.
x-rays of people's feet. And when you're unhealthy and you can have a lot of unhealthy problems with your feet. Like you were saying, like there's hereditary stuff where you can have with your feet. You can have bunions and gout and uric acid buildup, and You can lose blood flow if you are like a diabetic. You can like if you have a bad congestive heart failure, you can like retain water in your body, and when you retain water in your body, it usually pools around your feet, so then your ankles and your feet get all swollen and sweaty and gross. So like I see a lot of gross feet. So like I'm seeing the worst of the worst feet. So that's what comes to my mind is like the horror stories. Um, but not to brag or anything, but I have great feet. Like, they stink a little bit when I'm sweaty, but like I don't have foot problems. I don't have like a flat arch or need like special insoles. I don't have foot pain. I can get around. So I'm pretty lucky that way. Um, but yeah, the fact that there's like a whole like medical field of podiatry towards the feet just shows you how many things are wrong with feet.
Oh God. Uh, your arches. Do you guys? So yeah, all three of us are saying we have normal feet. But again, I don't want to say that. Like, did you guys, Dave? Did you see that chart of different feet from around the world?
I I feel like I might have seen something like that, but I don't really recall. I don't have any takeaways from it.
Mm. You know what's weird? I mean, it's okay. So I think in grade school we had a teacher or a person come to talk to the kids in the auditorium or whatever, and he was born without arms, so he had to use his feet for everything to grab and stuff. And like he's like, yeah, I even have to eat with them and stuff, and I could grab a sandwich and eat like that. We were like, ew, you know. But like he's like, well, ew yourself. Like this is just something I was born with. So like there's and over the years I've seen videos on YouTube. They're like, hey, I don't have any arms and I have to use my feet for everything. And it's crazy how uh, accurate the feet and toes can be, almost like hands after a while. Like you could really, move different toes and stuff like that if you work hard enough. And it's pretty interesting, but it is just weird. Like it's just this big thing, and maybe it doesn't smell, but I don't know. I do believe I'm indifferent, but uh torn maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think we also have to mention the elephant in the room here with the feet because there are certain people in this world who love feet. In fact, they have like a foot fetish and they're very attracted to people's feet. And I don't get it. I think it's weird. But one thing I do know somebody, I'm friends with somebody, and he will like massage his wife's feet every night. And I was just like, ew, like my wife has fine feet, but I'm like, I would definitely not like rub her feet every day to like be nice to her. Like that's just weird. But I think he really likes her feet. That's why he does it. So he rubs lotion on her feet every day. I'm like, okay, all right. And like it's weird. And I've heard that the reason that people have a foot fetish is something to do with like how our brains work, where like your your sexual pleasure part of your brain is right next to like the part of your brain that like controls your feet or something. And somehow there's like wires crossed in there. So like it's
Oh.
very common to have foot fetishes. I don't know. I heard it on a podcast somewhere, so it has to be true. Um,
Yeah, on Comedy Bang Bang and related podcasts, they're always talking about like, oh, what's your score on WikiFeet, which is apparently not Wikipedia, but like a wiki that's set up just for photos of, usually women's feet. And like people were talking about how like they're careful now, like not to let people like take pictures of them just in like open-toed shoes and stuff because they're gonna end up on WikiFeet. And some creep is gonna like, get off to them.
That's very true because you'll have like on like Twitch or something, like people will be playing games, and if there's like a girl streamer, like people in the comments will just be posting like show your feet,
Oh my
and like
God.
these like naive women are just like, oh, they just like hold their foot up to the camera. And it's like, oh no, I'm like, this fucking pervs out there getting off right now. And like this innocent person doesn't even realize what they've done.
And it feels like I'm not, what's the word, like not vulnerable, but just like the something that like is just like what if someone was really into elbows and like you had to like then, oh, I better not like show my elbow too much, or people are gonna use that or whatever. Like it's just so weird.
Oh my
Like that's
gosh.
now something that people have to be careful about.
Oh man. Real quick though, about the massaging the wife's feet or whatever. Like I massaged a girlfriend of mine's feet just because I didn't mind it, like I know that feels good for her. She wouldn't fucking do it for me for some goddamn reason. Maybe it was the Velociraptor claw. I don't know. The claw. I just think of liar
You're
liar.
scared of the claw.
Carrie Elwes, right? Oh man. All right. Segment challenge.
Well, we've put our best foot forward, so let's move on to the next topic.
I'm about to turn heel. All right. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. I'll continue with the indifferences. And this is not quite a deja vu, but it was something we promised to come back to someday. So, sleep paralysis. So I had talked about anxiety dreams, and we briefly brushed this topic, but what I'm talking about is the phenomenon where you're like laying in bed, you feel like you're awake, but you can't move, and then sometimes it feels like hard to breathe and stuff, and then eventually like you wake up fully and you're able to regain control of everything. I say I'm indifferent to it. I used to hate it when I was a kid. I would get it a lot, but then I just kind of learned how to just like be calm and just kind of get through it, and eventually I'd wake up. And then beyond that, I kind of would like use it as like a tool to get into like lucid dreaming, where okay, so this is happening to me. I know I'm asleep right now. Go and try and have a cool dream or something with it. And I was only like moderately successful at that. And actually, since I started doing that, it just happens to me way less frequently now. Um, so maybe that's part of the reason why. But um, it's a pretty interesting topic when, I looked into it years ago, and um, like the idea of like a sleep paralysis demon, like people like feel a presence in the room, or like felt like if you're like laying on your back and you have it, you feel like there's like someone sitting on your chest or something. Um, our buddy Jesse, I remember him telling me one time he used to get it, and he would just have like these vivid dreams associated with it. Like he would tell me one time he was like he saw like a bright light coming out of his closet, and it like sucked him up like a tractor beam, and he was like, his body was levitated and he was like pulled into his closet. Like like he said if it was like out the window or something, he would probably believe he had been alien abducted. But because it was like into his closet, he's like, okay, that was just weird.
Holy shit. Wait. So you never feel that way, John? You've never felt like, oh, there's a demon. You're just like, oh, my stupid body's not waking up right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh man, I can't move. And like I would always get it like sleeping like on my belly. And I remember trying to like push myself up off the bed and like not being able to move. And like my mom got it all the time, like in the recliner, like sleeping in the living room or whatever. And like she'd start like wiggling her foot, and that'd be like, oh, somebody go wake her up because she's like having sleep
Whoa.
paralysis. Yeah.
Whoa. Holy crap. Wow.
And like in her dream, in her mind, she's like screaming, like, wake me up. But like all you hear is like,
Holy shit. That's horrifying. Oh, John, real quick, you said that eventually it stopped happening, and maybe it's like they're like, oh, he's starting to use it to his advantage. Let's
Yeah,
stop doing
exactly.
it.
That's what it felt like, to be completely honest. And my wife will like wake me up at the like even the smallest sign of like discomfort. Like, so if I like make a noise, she'll be like, "You okay?" And like I do the same for her now too, because like if she's having a shitty dream or something. But
Wow. What about you, Dave? Didn't you have this?
Yeah, I used to have it a lot in my 20s, like my mid 20s. Like I can remember like 4 different apartments that I lived in having sleep paralysis. Um and I read like later that like there's certain things that can trigger it more. Like I used to work like second shift or like overnights. So like if you're sleeping outside of like your regular sleep hours, like if you're trying to sleep during the day or you're taking a nap, um I always sleep on my stomach usually, but my sleep paralysis would always happen when I was laying on my back. Um, and then also like if the temperature in the room was too hot, it would also seem to like it felt like that was kind of a trigger for me sometimes. Um, but yeah, like I had like 3 different occasions where it felt like there was like a presence in the room. Where like I wake up and I can like look around, and the thing is like I feel like I'm looking around, but I'm like 99% positive that my eyes are closed and I'm just kind of like dreaming that I'm looking around. And I can hear everything perfectly. And like I can hear someone open my front door, I can hear them walking down the
oh yeah.
hallway, and I can hear them open the room to my door, and I'm like shaking, like trying to wake myself up because there's someone walking into my room, and then I can like feel their presence just like standing at like the entrance to the room, just staring at me. And it just like it feels like my chest is gonna cave in because like I can't move a muscle in my body, and the only thing I could control was my breathing. So I would be like hyperventilating, just having a full-on panic attack, like thinking if I breathe really weird that it will like kickstart my body and like I'll wake up fully. Um, but I had that one, and then there was another one I had where I was asleep and my girlfriend at the time was laying right next to me, and I felt like it was like sleep paralysis, and I was like trying to get her to wake me up, and she rolled over and her face was like this weird alien reptilian like demon face. Like it was just something out of a freaking movie.
Like They
And
Live or something.
yeah, oh my God, it was just horrifying. Like it was the scariest thing ever. And like I had these experiences and I thought they were all weird, and then there was some TV show or something on YouTube where they were talking about like alien abductions and like how people were having um all these like they were talking about their experiences, and they were like basically the same as my experience. But and they were thinking like, oh, maybe these are like alien abductions where the aliens like freeze your body and then they're like come in and they're like, and some of it was like, you know, maybe this is a like an excuse as to why people think they were abducted by aliens. They were just having like a sleep paralysis event. But I
Yeah,
thought it was really
I love
interesting
like the
that
two theories. Like either people are having sleep paralysis and they just think they're being abducted, or everyone who's had sleep paralysis is actually undergoing an alien experience.
yeah, exactly. It's the chicken or the egg argument. I just thought it was super fascinating that like I was watching these like this TV show and they're talking about the thing I experienced, and I'm like, oh, it seemed like so unique. Like it was like this crazy monumental event where I'm like, it felt like there was something in my room. But like, even though I had this experience, I never once felt like oh, I encountered like a demon or an alien or like anything like weird. It was just like, man, that was like a scary dream. Like that's all it was to me. It was nothing more. But that's kind of also like my outlook on like ghosts and stuff like that, where I'm like, if I don't bother them and I just ignore them, they're never going to bug me because you know, you have to like engage with a ghost a little bit, I feel like, for it to like
Mhm.
have some fun with you. Like if you just ignore it, it'll get bored and it'll find someone else to haunt.
Like the grade
Like,
school bullies.
wow. Yeah, so well then again, that's kind of like with John, where he's like, oh well, I'll have fun with it, this paralysis. And I'm like, oh, he likes it now, We'll stop
Have
at
you
that.
have you ever had it, Vince?
No.
Never? Not
Nope.
even once?
Can't relate.
Hmm.
You guys are alien to me. How about that? Um, yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's not cool. Like, so you guys still endure these or what?
No, I think it was just like I had like anxiety at the time and like issues like that and like just a lot of like emotional distress in my life going on, and I think that was a lot of like the trigger of it. Um, but like now, like I barely even remember my dreams. I fall asleep and I wake up and it's like I was nothing happened. It was like I don't even remember anything. So like my brain is just fully optimized where it doesn't go into standby, it just turns off.
Segment challenge.
Let's wake up from this nightmare of a topic.
Do you want me to list off all three of my topics or just one?
Go ahead. Yeah, name them all off.
Um, I love the mystery of DB Cooper. I'm indifferent to air fryers, and I fucking hate ASMR. Oh, now he wants to do ASMR. Oh, I hate ASMR. I want to do that topic right now.
All right.
ASMR, I honestly, I don't even know what it stands for. All I know is that it's like an internet fad where there's tons of YouTube videos and there's lots of like Twitch channels and people like to put in their headphones and people they find it relaxing. Um, and I will admit that like if someone has like a soft voice and they're like reading a book or something, it is relaxing. But a lot of the content I've seen, it's just like my own like personal view on it. That's why I hate it. Um, is like people are they're doing they're like cooking food in their kitchen and they're doing like ASMR where they're taking their knife and they're you know they're scraping it on the cutting board and then they're tapping their fingernails or they have like some weird piece of plastic and they're tapping against that and they're like tapping things together and that's really the thing that like triggers me that I hate is like the weird sound effects and noise like noises that they make because if you're just whispering in a soft tone of voice like I don't yeah I guess it's kind of relaxing, that's cool. Like you know, just like stream your video game and like just whisper the whole time, you know, because we have enough people out there who are like angry and yelling as they're playing video games, and that gets annoying. Everybody's gotten angry and yelled during a video game. But if you're just really quiet and you just whisper like, oh man, I guess I need a key to get in this door. We're gonna turn around and we'll go back to the previous room and find it. We're like, okay, yeah, like that's fine, but I don't
Well, you
know.
just gave me tingles, Dave.
And was that Zelda you were playing?
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's weird, but I find it so annoying that people can hear like weird scratching. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. Um, so I just hate it.
Well, I listened to some ASMR for research, and they had, I don't know, it was like a preview, and they're like, you could listen to like this ice, and you could, lots of like little tapping and stuff. After a while, it's like enough with the tapping. Like that's almost like overused by now. But it made me laugh out loud when one of them was the clicking of a mouse. And I'm like, I guess I haven't heard that in a long time. So I don't know. Nostalgia mixed with ASMR. I don't know.
I'm the kind of person who's like would want to buy a mouse that literally doesn't make a clicking noise. I'm like, why do they make it click? It's so annoying. Like I'll play my Xbox and I hate the fact that when I push the X button or the B button that it makes like a noise. I'm like, why is my controller quiet?
God.
I remember when like I first heard about it years ago. I'm like, oh yeah, let me check this out. And I'm like, it just didn't do anything for me either way. Like it was like, okay, I guess this is a thing that does something for some people and they can enjoy it, I guess.
Yeah, maybe it is just like there's so many people making money and putting it by creating videos of that thing and tons of views, tons of hits on YouTube and stuff like that. Uh, I don't know. Is it if we liked ASMR, would we not be complaining at all? Would we be like, thank God this has finally happened. This is a great time to live with this ASMR.
Could be. I kind of put it in the same category as like mukbang, where it's like people just eating large amounts of food on camera. I'm like, I don't get it, but apparently some people out here love this.
But that mukbang thing is horrible though. Like so many of those people gain weight so quickly and I feel so bad for them. I mean, it's such a stupid thing to do. I don't know. I just think in terms of health reasons.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
With with the whispering thing, that's fine, but it's overdue with the tapping of the nails. That is so overdone.
What about rubbing the comb, the teeth of the comb over the microphone?
That could be nice. Yeah. Yeah. I don't
I
know.
feel like it's like nowadays, like when we were like younger, when we were teenagers, you had like TV and you would change the channel and you would change the channel to like, well, I'm gonna go to bed now. What do I want to watch before I fall asleep? Well, nowadays people don't like change the channel, to like Cartoon Network or something to fall asleep. They go on YouTube and they're like, I'm gonna look up at ASMR because it's like whispering. I can listen to it and then fall asleep. Because some people love to fall asleep with like watching something or listening to something. It's kind of something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. It is interesting though. Like when did when did this start occurring? Like when did it pop in people's minds? Like, hey, people like it when you could really hear these little bitty noises and stuff. Like how long has that been around? I'm wondering, who figured it out? Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, I think the original pioneer was Bob Ross, the painter, because he would just whisper and it was very calm and soothing and he's just painting. And people, I don't know, I don't know, maybe it was just like a joke somebody made, but it kind of makes sense because he's kind of like the godfather of it all.
Except for when he beats the devil out of his paintbrush.
He was tapping it. He hadn't perfected that part yet.
That's true.
Um, segment challenge.
I got nothing.
I didn't hear that at all, John. Your head just disappeared from screen.
Yeah, I think Zoom is too good at cutting out unwanted noises.
Yeah, Zoom's not even a fan of ASMR. Who's up? Is it I? Or who is up?
Yeah, it's you.
Oh, it is. Okay. All right. So what do you guys want? I love choose your own adventure books, and I hate spontaneous human combustion.
You gotta choose, man. You gotta choose
Yeah,
your own
it's your
adventure.
adventure, man.
All right, let's do it. Choose your own adventure. So it starts off with the Goosebump books, Choose Your Own Adventures. That was cool because I love Goosebump books to begin with. And then it's like, oh wait, you can not die, or you could not turn into a werewolf in this book. You know, you can get out of this, and you can not do the stupid decisions that other characters have made. You know, so I really enjoyed that. And then I would have to say the Walking Dead video game. I don't know if you guys ever played that one, but that's like, yeah, like what is it called? The tree branch of options, or what is it called? Option tree, maybe. I don't know.
It's like a
Yeah.
decision tree or something.
Something like that. Yeah. But like, you know, 3 to 5 things. That was very enjoyable. It might have been like one of my favorite experiences, even though it was emotionally you know, draining sometimes, because you're like, oh God, do you feed this guy even though he's an asshole, or do you feed the little girl the food, you know? Yes, shit like that. So I like that. But I for research, I went on this website and they just have a bunch of choose your own adventure books you could just read online and click. That was cool, but it ended so quickly because I just did not risk anything. And it was quite dull. You know, they're like, do you go bursting into this room, or do you calmly ask for some help? I'm like, ask for help. Like, so I think I'm just very safe and very boring. You know, my adventures, nothing happens. I just like, I chose to sit down and file my
Do you,
taxes.
yeah, I was literally gonna say that. Do you file your taxes before the deadline?
Wasn't that a Futurama gag where like they go to the theater and you could you know, click on what they want? You're like, does he save the planet or file his taxes? And Fry presses, you know, save the planet, save the planet. And like, you chose file your taxes. So there's like half an hour of that. So I also just before we started recording, I watched Bandersnatch,
Oh
that
yeah. I
Black
was gonna
Mirror
ask
thing.
about that, yeah.
Okay, so but it's not the same. And I've never seen a Black Mirror show before, but I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, this is like a horror thing. Like, I don't think I can get out of this alive. And you really can't. And it's meta. Like, you know, you have two choices and then you choose this, and they're like, oh, you should have chose that. So go back and I choose the right one. But before that happens, I notice the characters are saying like the dialogue differently. It's the same scene, but they're speaking differently. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is the meta part where like you find yourself in
Yeah.
a nightmare. So I finally had to turn it off when they were like, okay, do you throw coffee on your computer and destroy your life's work, or do you yell at your dad? I was like, I'd rather throw the coffee on the computer than yell at my dad. And it's just, I realized, no, it's just nightmare after nightmare. So I gave up on it. I'm like, no, I like the other choose your own adventure books where you can actually get through it. So yeah, what do you guys think?
I loved them growing up, and I remember like having like all my fingers in like different pages, like save states. I'm like, oh, if if this goes bad, I can always go back to old pinky finger here and see what would have happened if I did bust into that door. Um, I have a book that I got a few years ago that it's like super thick, like an inch and a half thick, and it's a choosable path version of Hamlet.
Oh,
Um, it's called like To Be or Not to Be, That is the Adventure. And you can play or read, I guess, as Hamlet, Ophelia, or Hamlet's dad's ghost, which is pretty fun.
whoa. Is it all in the language and stuff?
No, it's not
Oh,
like super like hard to read Shakespeare or anything like that, but there are paths you can go through as each character to do exactly what they did in the play, but then it can get pretty wild outside of that as well.
I would love it if they're like, oh my gosh, you need help. Do you side with the Capulets or the Montagues? Even though it's a totally different story, I understand. Uh yeah. Dave, what about you? Did Do you
I
enjoy?
remember the Choose Your Own Adventure Goosebumps book when I was a kid, and I was super hyped for it. But the problem was, I feel like I read through it in like 30 or 40 minutes and it was over. Because like the Choose Your Own Adventure book was short. Like, because you had a book that was probably like, I don't know, 100 pages, but you were only reading like 15 of them because it depended, like every adventure, like it depended what way you picked. Like you could end up picking a super fast way to get through the book. If you chose right, you can just
You
get
could be
right to the
dead
end and
in
be like,
3 pages.
yeah. It's like, oh man, you shouldn't have went down that doorway. You fell down into the basement. Now you're dead. Like, so I felt like kind of disappointed by it because it was like, well, I was doing what John was doing. I was like, maybe I chose wrong. So then I like started again, and then it was like, okay, and I went here, and then I went here, and then so I would keep trying reading it to like go through all of the different like versions of it. Um, it was difficult, but so like with the books, I was kind of meh. But with video games, it's like amazing. With a game I've been playing that I really like is what is it? Um, Baldur's Gate 3. It's like an RPG, it's like a role-playing game, and it's the game is supposed to be like hundreds of hours long because every time you play through it, like weird stuff happens, and that's why like there's a lot of fans that love it is because you can play it multiple times for hundreds of hours and like you won't necessarily have this certain thing happen to you. You have to like choose the correct things all the way through this game, and they have like these long effects like way down the line that you might not even notice. Or if you don't interact with a certain character and you miss that, then you're not going to get certain help and you're not going to be able to get down that path at the end, and then you'll run into somebody else and then it'll take you somewhere else in the game. So like the way they utilize it in video games is just awesome, I think.
Um, yeah. Oh, the other thing that was anti Choose Your Own Adventure in Bandersnatch was like it was a memory of when he could have went with his mom or could have stayed, and his mom was eventually going to get into a car accident or something like that. And then, the computer or the controller shakes and then the words pop up. It gives you your option. And in this instance, there was only one option. It was no. And my anxiety level went through the roof. I'm like, why? I was so confused and angry. I'm like, this is the opposite of what a choose your, like, I get it. It's a memory. There's no way to change it. But yeah, I was instantly so angry. Are Black Mirror episodes all like that, like super bleak and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's a very bleak show.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains a lot. Wow. Yeah, I really hated that.
If you're not pessimistic about the future, you need to watch more Black
All
Mirror.
right. Damn it.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
they'll tell you what it's like to have cameras everywhere.
My gosh.
Oh
That's
yeah.
true. More validation. That's all we do. Segway challenge. Do you guys what yeah.
I know.
I think we already made that joke, Will.
How do we phrase the obvious one?
Yeah.
Vince,
You
you need
are-
to choose the next topic.
You
Oh my
are sitting in
gosh.
front of a microphone. You have two topics left to choose from.
No, who is next though? I don't even
It
remember.
is me.
Ah,
Um, I'll go with my hate, which is door-to-door salespeople. Like, it just feels like I don't even like it when my phone rings, let alone my doorbell. And like, it just feels so invasive that people can just show up at my house and I'm expected to talk to them. And it's not for something that I'm gonna want, but like sometimes it's like um not even selling products, but like they're there to pitch like a charity or something. And even when it's like a charity that is something that I would normally be a fan of supporting, just the fact that they like came into my space and are asking me about it just really turns me off to it. And um, I just always use the excuse like, oh, I don't donate to anything without doing more research on it, blah blah blah. And then they're always like, well, but I don't get credit for, blah 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 unless you do it now. I'm like, oh, that sucks. But I used to like just if the doorbell rang and I wasn't expecting anyone, I just would not even move, like just like pretend not to be home kind of thing. But then at some point during the pandemic, I remember the first time that happened, I just like got up and like looked out the front window and there was someone there that I didn't know with like a clipboard or something. And like we made eye contact and I just like turned around and walked away. Like,
Jeez.
yep, I know you're here. I'm not engaging with you. No. It's kind of a moment where I felt powerful.
Okay. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, I like it reminds me of like anytime I go to Sam's Club, they always have like there's a couple different types of salesmen they'll have in Sam's Club. They either have like a direct TV trying to sell you a satellite dish, or they'll have someone from like Verizon or AT&T trying to sell you like a cell phone plan. Um, or most recently, I don't know what they were selling, but there was like this young man who was probably like 20 or 21 years old, and he's dressed very nicely. And then behind him is basically like his trainer or manager. She was like in her mid to late 20s, and she's kind of like training him, and he's trying to like do the sales pitch. And I'm walking by and I'm just thinking like, and they put them like right, you grab your shopping cart and you go down the first aisle and they're right there, so you can't like avoid them. Because I'm like, I'm just trying to get to the grocery department and I got to walk right by him. And he's like, sir, if you could have anything for your house, what would you want it to be? And I was like, I don't know, but it would have to be free. And then a couple people like let out a laugh, and it was just, it was like I felt bad because it was like the shitty answer that's like a total non-answer, where it's like that's not a valid answer, sir. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but like I don't want to hear the rest of the sales pitch, so I just need to like I just need to throw something in the way to like and then just walk away because I'm like I would like a pool in my backyard, but I don't want him to be like, well, if you have us come and inspect your yard and we'll do some measurements, give us your info and we'll have one of our contractors come out and talk with you. Let me get your phone number. Like, I hate a lot of the salesmen like that like just want to get all your personal information and then they bug you with phone calls or junk mail or emails. And then yeah, the door-to-door stuff is weird. Just because they'll come through and they'll be like, hi, they want like they'll tell you like weird lies. They're like, I've been to 3 houses on this block and they've all said yes to the security system. Would you like to get a security system? And I'm like, dude, I got like 4 or 5 guns in my house. Like, I don't even have I don't even know the number. I'm like, I have enough. Like, security is not my problem. Like, if I'm not home, like somebody ransacks the place, like, but it is what it is at that point. At least I'm
Oh,
not
God.
hurt. Like, I can get new stuff. Oh my God, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna get worked up over that. But I'm not really sure. I don't know. I don't understand salesmen why they would want to do that for a living because it's the most uncomfortable social interactions ever, and it just makes me squirm.
And you see like old movies with like vacuum salesmen and they're like letting these people into their homes and stuff. Like no way,
Oh
man.
yeah.
What about those Mormons when they're selling Jesus?
Oh my God. I used to have, oh my gosh, Vince, when I lived on Forest Street, there was this Mormon couple or a couple of old ladies. I don't think they were a couple. But they would always come over and they would show up Sunday morning. And, you know, in my 20s, I was always super hungover. They'd show up and they'd be like, "Oh, I'd like to talk to you about the Jehovah's Witness and something." I don't know what they're trying to sell. And I'm like, "Don't worry, I can talk you out of this spiel." They're like, I'm like, "I'm Christian, I believe in Jesus." And then they started to go in about their religion and what they believe. And then I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, no. I'm like, I've already chosen my team. Like, I can't be converted. Like, I'm on this team. Like, this is how it works. Like, you're not talking me out of it. Like, just leave me alone.
Uh, I remember I was at work. It was like me and a coworker, and we were working at a program house. So the clients were there. They were nonverbal, and you wouldn't guess. They just look like dudes or whatever. So one day, this woman shows up, this blonde, this cute little number. Actually, she was dressed quite provocatively, and she was like, "Hey guys, I'm with Omaha Steaks or something like that, and like, would you guys want to buy this meat, or we have ribeye and blah blah blah." And me and my coworker were like, "Oh, that does sound good, but we actually can't. This is their house. This is a program house." And she's like, "But you got to eat, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." But, and she just, her very pushy, very, just like not listening to us and just trying to say like, "Oh, come on, you're men. Men love meat, right?" And we're just like, "Men do love meat." I don't know. But finally, we're just like, "Yeah, go ahead." She's like, "Let me at least bring in the meat or whatever or something," right? So we're just like, "Okay, you're not listening to us. Go ahead." And she's like, "Okay." And she took off, and then in came in this big fucking burly hairy dude. He's like, "All right, gentlemen, I'm here. Here's the meat," and shit like that. And we're like, "No, we can't buy this meat." It was a classic bait and switch. Like the hot girl completely disappeared, and this big dude. And
Then
then
Chris
finally,
Hansen showed up, and you're like, "Oh man, this
uh, but finally, we're just like, we really can't. Like, we told her, and finally, she kind of showed up. We're like, we told her that this is a program house. They own the house, but we are not allowed to make any decisions. And he kind of slowly turned towards the blonde, and you could instantly see their dynamic. Where she's like, "I'm sorry, Gus. It's just that like, you gonna hit her or something like that." Jesus Christ. It was so awkward, and it was so horrible. And like they leave, you could hear them, yeah, him yelling at her and stuff on their way to the truck or whatever. It was so terrible. Oh my god. Door to door, people. I hit him too, John.
Don't do it.
All right, segue challenge.
Well, we didn't find any buyers here. Let's go next door and see if someone will buy that topic.
Yeah. What are your remaining ones, Dave?
DB Cooper or air fryers."
Let's get that air fryer out of the way.
Ah, okay. I was hoping to just get cut off the end of the episode. Um,
God damn it.
This will be the first one cut out in the middle of the episode.
all right, fair enough. I'll allow it. Uh, I don't know. Air fryers are like, they were like this huge fad. It felt like ever since, I don't know, 2019 or 2020. I feel like it really took off in like 2020, during like COVID lockdown, and like people are like, "Well, we only cook stuff at home now." So like everybody was on like TikTok sharing their air fryer recipes and like, "Oh, I learned how to make this and I make this in the air fryer and it's great." And I've heard all about it, and then I'm like, "Well, okay, maybe I'll get one." And then it's like it's an appliance, but it's, I don't know, it costs like $80 or $100 or more than $100 depending on how big you want it and how many different features and options you want with it. And so I kind of just held out and I never got one. And then last year I got one, and I'm like, yeah, it's like a little convection oven. It's not a fryer at all. The fact that they call it an air fryer is just wrong and incorrect, and it's confusing to me because I thought it was something different. I'm like, it's just a little convection oven. It has a heating element and a fan. But yeah, like yeah, it'll cook my pizza rolls really fast. Like, but that's how convection ovens work. Like it blows the hot air around and then it cooks stuff a little bit faster. And the fact that it's smaller, it's gonna cook stuff faster. Um, but there's like nothing really that great about it. I feel like it just takes up a lot of counter space. Um, there are times when I use it, but like I thought I splurged and got one that was fairly big, but I can barely fit 2 servings. Like if I'm trying to make something for like me and my wife, like no, it's not happening. If I want to make like sweet potato fries in it, there's barely enough room for 2 people's fries because you have to like in order for it to work, nothing can be stacked on top of each other because anything stacked on top of each other is just going to be cold and then only the outside will cook. So you have to like disperse everything so that way the air can flow through it. So even though like I spent like, I don't remember 75 or 80 bucks on this thing, like I kind of feel disappointed in it. Do you guys have an air fryer?
No.
I have one that like a small one that we've taken and we use it at like hotels and stuff. And it's been really nice for that because, like a lot of food when you have leftovers and you microwave it, it's just like mushy and, not great. But having like an air fryer for like, oh yeah, throw your leftover fries in there, throw your slices of pizza in there or whatever. It works great for that. I definitely agree that like having one at like I wouldn't use one for like home cooking all the time because I already have other stuff that does the same thing. And I don't like having just another appliance on the counter for that kind of stuff. But it's yeah, for me, it's like a good travel thing. Like if we're on a road trip or something and you're staying at hotels and stuff and like you don't want to throw away your leftovers, it's a good use for that, I'd say.
So it's not. So it is just like a mini, like a conventional or whatever oven. For some reason I thought this was supposed to be healthy,
Well,
but
sure,
it's
because you can get stuff crispy without frying it in oil, is basically the gimmick.
okay.
And why they call it a fryer, even though to Dave's point, it's completely inaccurate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is it will actually cook way better if you just like cover your food in olive oil.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Then everything cooks like amazing. And it's like, well,
Wow. Yeah, I've never bought one, but is it like those the toaster ovens? Kind of like
yeah,
that?
kind of.
Well, that's all it is? Oh.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, I don't know.
Except for you can't see inside of it to like see when your food's done. You have to open it
Oh.
up and see like, nope, still needs to shut the door. And then it starts back up again. And you just constantly have to open and shut it because they cook super fast and super hot. So like you constantly have to check on your food to make sure it's not burning.
Wow.
Yeah, and actually, like unless you have one with an adjustable temperature, they're too hot. So like stuff that you would normally just take out of the freezer and throw in the oven or whatever, you actually have to like, oh, let it thaw for a while. Otherwise, it's going to be burnt on the outside and frozen in the middle still.
Yeah, I had some like weird like apple pie kind of dessert thing and I cooked it too hot. So then yeah, the outside was like burnt and I was like, "Oh man, it's done." And then the inside was like almost frozen still and cold and I was like, "This is horrible." Then
Oh,
yeah, mine has a temperature gauge on it, but it's tough to perfect cuz yeah, you'll screw some stuff up first before you kind of figure it out.
I thought you were describing your days at McDonald's, those hot fucking pies.
Oh
Man,
man, that damn apple pie oven. Mm.
well, okay, so should I buy one or just stick with my oven and my microwave?
Yeah, I
It's
wouldn't
good for
recommend them.
leftovers, like John said. That's probably the best feature, I would say. If you can find a cheap one, I I think it's fine. Like for like a person who lives by themselves, I think it's fine. Because then you don't have to heat up the entire oven for
Oh.
something that's only going to be that big, like whatever you're heating up.
Yeah, how lonely are
Yeah,
you? That'll
that's what
be
I was gonna.
the
Uh, yeah, I'll just. It's a. You could talk to your little air fryer, your friend. Put googly eyes on it
It
with
says
a
fun
mouse.
stuff like turn your food.
Put on
Oh
your
my god.
seatbelt. We're going on a road trip.
Yeah.
We're going to the Holiday Inn.
Oh man. Segway. Challenge.
Oh, side note, I just think of the cornballer and Arrested Development whenever I think of any countertop food making appliances.
They'll burn each
I
other all the time.
I haven't thought of that in years. That was like such a great segment. Just all of a sudden it just burns them and they just like motherfucker.
Oh man. Uh uh so yeah, let's not actually fry anything. And oh man, that doesn't work.
This topic got too hot on the outside and frozen in the inside.
All right. Is it me back to me?
It's you back.
Okay, well, I hate spontaneous human combustion. So this
Oh man,
something that happened.
you had a segue built in right there.
Oh well, yeah. God damn it. Okay, so sometimes this happens where I have, I think of a hate or whatever, then I say, this is what we're going to talk about. But then we have a few days to research. So I research my own topic and I'm like, oh, this might not even be true at all. But let me just open with when I first heard about it, I'm like, I don't think death is not on my mind, really. Like some people think about it a lot. Some people are like, oh, I don't care. When I go. Piss on my corpse. I don't give a fuck. But spontaneous combustion was like, what? So you're doing nothing and you could just burst into flames? Like burning sucks. And it doesn't discriminate. You could just burn up at any time. It's like, hey, I don't want to drown, so I'll stay away from water. Oh, I don't want to get buried alive, so I'll stay far from the ground, or something. I don't know, something. There's things that you could do to feel safe, not with the spontaneous combustion. It just horrified me and just really, yeah, it was like that's the worst way to go. But upon research, they're like, well, it's possible these people might have just passed out with a cigarette or something like that.
Yeah.
And that kind of gave me relief. But they're like, a lot of them, they're alcoholics. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to take a drink to get over that. That's depressing. And they're like, they're all so fat. I'm probably from the alcoholism. I'm like, God, come on. God damn it. But I think it's inconclusive or something. I don't know. I'd rather be wrong about this topic or having it be, real or whatever. That would comfort me. What do you guys think about combustion, spontaneous, human?
I had also heard that it was likely not real, but I never actually looked into it myself. I know hay, that you burn or that you harvest for feeding your cattle and stuff, that can start on fire on its own, just like sitting in the barn or whatever. And I'm not exactly sure why.
Yeah, it
But
sucks to be the scarecrow in that instance.
yeah, humanoid scarecrow, spontaneous combustion.
Yeah.
I
What about
remember
you, Dave?
hearing about it as a kid. Like when I heard about it, it was on like some weird TV shows that was probably talking about like sleep paralysis or alien abductions or something. And there's like those like weird mysteries, and it's like spontaneous combustion. Like you'll just randomly like light on fire. and I was like very confused by it. And I remember like asking my mom, like, what does spontaneous combustion mean? And she's like, well, it just means that you just light on fire. Like normally you would have some flame and then you set something on fire, but this was just out of nowhere. But like my mom was never like dismissive of it. She's just like, some people say it can happen. We don't really know. And like to me, I'm just like, there's no way that like that does not work that way. I'm like, it kind of defies all the laws of physics and science and nature that we know. There's usually a an explanation for someone's lighting on fire, and I don't know. It's spontaneous combustion to me. It sounds like something that like a shady lawyer came up with, and he's like, "Sir, Your Honor, my client did not set that person on fire with gasoline. They just lit them. They just randomly they started on fire on their own. It was not my client." Like, I don't know.
Reminds me, did you guys ever watch that movie Visioneers with
No.
Zach Galifianakis?
Nope.
It's like in this weird, like 1984-ish kind of world. But like one of the things is just people talk about like how other people just like will randomly explode, and it's just kind of a thing that happens, and like, yeah, you hear about Frank, he exploded. Oh man, I liked him. Like,
Well, that's how one of the drummers from This Is Spinal Tap died, right? They're like he was playing the drums, and then all of a sudden there's a flash of green light, and he's disappeared. He's gone.
He was shredding that guitar too hard.
No, no, it was their drummers. Remember, all their drummers
Oh, okay.
died and shit. Yeah.
Like lightning came out of the sticks and just
They said he died choking on vomit, but it wasn't his vomit or something. Unfortunately, you can't dust for vomit. Awesome. Well, you know what? Like I said, when I first heard of it, I wasn't that skeptical like Dave. I was just like, oh my God, this is totally unfair. What kind of a God would do this? You know, I even asked the Mormon people, like, oh yeah, well, you want me to convert? Explain this. So I am relieved that odds are it's not true. It's just for a long time, little Vince over here was like, what if I spontaneously combust? You know? Damn it. Well, that's not the case. Should we spontaneously change topics?
I love wordplay, and this is in a lot of forms. I love actual word games like crossword puzzles, the Wordle, and what have you. Um, I like I used to have to write like a newsletter at my like a weekly newsletter for my company, and I would always try to like work like alliteration in it or like throw rhymes in it and that kind of stuff. Um, Whenever I like meet people and learn their names, I always like do spoonerisms in my head. So like, oh, Clint's vowed, Lave Dower, okay. And like sometimes I like, like dower like is an actual word. So like, oh yeah, he's pretty dour. Um, a a kind that I recently learned about that I've been thinking about a lot is they're called Tom Swifties, and it's where you take like um you say that like you it's basically a quotation of a character, and then the adverb that you use to describe how they said it is kind of like a pun for what they said. So some examples from Wikipedia, like I'm freezing, Tom remarked icily. Uh, don't ask me why I was at the mausoleum, Tom said cryptically. Stuff like that. I was trying to come up with one myself. It was really dumb, but it was like the the surgeon said, I feel really close to my patients, heartfeltly.
Oh, that's good.
Um, But yeah, like we have on my work chat rooms, we have like a dad jokes channel, and it's just people making dumb puns all day, and like I love that kind of stuff. And
As-
or just like little mind games you play, like you hear the title of something, you try to think of like what's the opposite word of everything in that title, and what would that be like, and just all that stuff.
if you're like
Uh,
trying to figure out a mystery and you see some footprints and you're like, something's afoot.
what about when they get words wrong? Would that be considered like on the Trailer Park Boys? Ricky always gets shit wrong. It's like, oh, it's super easy. It's not rocket appliances.
I had a coworker who would always say, like, it's not rocket surgery.
The double entendres. One of my favorite sketches is Monty Python's Nudge Nudge.
Oh yeah.
Is she a goer? She sometimes goes, oh, I bet she does. I bet she does. Oh my God. Oh, and then the Groucho line, if I told you you had a beautiful body, would you hold it against me? It's classic. Yeah. Oh, I also have to say, Eminem post sobriety has a lot of awesome wordplay in his lyrics. After he stopped being drugged out and hating women, uh, he really kicked it into high gear with his lyrics, and so I recommend some of that. What about you, Dave?
I feel like a lot of the movies I like have like great wordplay in them, just like great writing. Um, kind of think about like in the Big Lebowski or even Hudsucker Proxy, which I recently watched.
Not as yeah.
But yeah, I don't have any like specific examples, I guess, but it's something that like when you notice it, it's like it always makes you smile and you're like, oh, I wish I would have thought of that. It's I don't know. It's like one of those things with comedy where it's like I can never do it myself, so when I see someone else do it, I'm just like, "Oh, that's good." Cuz like we've had like coworkers and like or friends that you meet, like people that you meet and you're just like, "Oh man, this like if somebody's like has a really like great sense of humor, like wordplay is just it's phenomenal. It really takes it over the top."
I like that crosswords count. That's cool because I like crosswords. I was thinking that would be either trivia or a whole new topic. Yeah.
I mean, there's often a lot of wordplay in crossword clues beyond, like just them being themselves a form of wordplay. Like the clue will be like a double entendre or something. You notice like a lot of Jeopardy clues too. Like there's two ways to get the answer
Yeah.
often.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but you guys are more Jeopardy fans.
Yeah.
I always for some reason I don't like any of the sounds. Maybe the dee dee dee, dee, that part that, but other than that, I don't like the doo, 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 the daily double and stuff. They always sounded so dated to me, even when I was a kid. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that show always seemed dated for
Oh,
sure.
really? Okay, it's
Yeah,
not just me. All right.
no, but that didn't stop me from loving it.
Yeah.
There was always some wordplay on a Wheel of Fortune where they would do like before and after would be the clue.
Oh yeah.
And then like I can't think of an example because I'm not smart enough or have a good enough
I
memory.
actually I've got one. We from a work event we did like this game show challenge thing, which was a lot of fun actually. They broke us into teams, and then we played like Family Feud against each other, and then like they had like a Wheel of Fortune thing and all this stuff. And the final category, like the tiebreaker, was before and after, and I got it like super early. It was Taco Bell bottoms was the answer.
That's awesome.
I don't what?
So before and after is basically it's two common phrases merged
Oh,
together.
right. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So it'd
Taco
be like
Bell, bell bottoms.
Okay.
Mississippi River Phoenix.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. What? So puns, right? That's wordplay.
Yeah.
Isn't the I don't know. I think of James Bond movies and like pretty like roll your eyes sort of puns and like there was this like a lot of the girls speak like that. I had a friend who he hated girls who are like kind of promiscuous or something, right? Yet his girl spoke almost always in sexual puns, like a Bond girl. And I was like, don't you think that counts? Whatever. Yeah. Uh Segway challenge? S- Oh.
I feel like the pressure is on for it to be like a super witty.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I just
Let's just open the emergency exit and bail from this topic.
Uh I think it's you, Dave, right? You're our
Yeah,
closer.
and yeah, and my love is DB Cooper. Um, I'll vaguely go over like the story of DB Cooper. Um, I used to watch TV shows, and I think there's even a movie. I haven't even watched the movie yet, but I love this story because I think it happened in 1971. This guy, he gets onto an airplane. It's like a Boeing 20 or 272 or something, and it was like back in the days when like I don't know, things were different in like the late 60s, early 70s. But he basically hijacks this plane, calls the authorities, and he's like, "Hey, we're on the tarmac." He's like, I think he had a gun, probably. And he's like, I want $200,000 in cash delivered to me, and then we're gonna fly to my destination, and then everyone will live. Otherwise, I'm gonna start like I'll either crash a plane or kill people, or I don't even remember the story. But so the authorities are like, "Oh, this is a madman. He's gonna hurt innocent people." They're like, "If he wants $200,000 cash, fine, we'll give it to him." And they're thinking, the FBI is thinking like, "We'll give him the cash in this bag, and then once he lands at the next destination, we'll be ready, and we're gonna have dozens of cop cars to arrest him." Well, they give him the cash, and then they fly up in the plane, and then somewhere between, I think, Oregon or Washington State, he just jumps out in the middle of the forest. He had a parachute on his back, and he had the bag of cash, the duffel bag. He just jumps out of the plane mid-flight, and they never found the guy. He got away. It's just like this awesome, like you can't believe it actually worked, and it worked. Like we've never heard from this guy ever again. Like there's certain people, they hear this story and they're like, "Oh yeah, that was me," and they like try to take credit for it. But like none of these people who have
you're under arrest.
actually yeah, like nobody like actually has like any like evidence that it was them, or I don't know. It's just such a cool story. I first heard it when I was like a young teenager, and it was just such a captivating story. I just thought it was so cool that like somebody hijacked something, got a bag of cash, and then just jumped out the door, and like they never caught him.
So I did a little bit of research, but like my first introduction to this was on the show Red Letter Media because they were watching a movie called D.B. Cooper versus Sasquatch.
Oh no, the Sasquatch trying to take the bag of cash from him.
But like I was like, oh, that's a weird story because they got into the whole thing. And I'm like, oh, I've heard that reference before on like a podcast. So yeah, I did the research and I don't know, it seems the thing that the takeaway for me is that they were like, he was actually kind of like polite and patient and he didn't get rattled by anything. And he like, you know, I think a flight attendant or a stewardess, as they were called once, they were like, hey, why are you doing this? Why do you have a grudge against our airline? And he's like, I don't have a grudge against your airline. I just have a grudge. never explained what that grudge was.
They
And
called him the gentleman hijacker.
yeah,
Yeah.
Right before he jumped out the door, he's just like, "Good day."
well, they say like, oh, he was never found, but then you read some stuff where they found some cash, you know, and then what they say, like it wasn't. They did some scientific stuff, and they're like, oh, this cache wasn't exposed to the river water until like maybe like a month after he jumped out of the plane or something like that. But then a lot of people are like, well, we think he was in the Air Force or something, because he knew everything about the plane. He was like, lower this thing down at a certain angle and stuff. He knew, like a lot of people didn't know you could jump through that or whatever. And everything he thought of like meticulously, like and a lot of things, a lot of curveballs went his way, and he just calmly like came up with different solutions. And that's what the main takeaway for me is like, well, maybe he did die, and maybe he planned this out, and maybe he survived, but it's just a weird thing that he was so calm. That, yeah, the gentleman bandit or whatever they call it. That's what sticks out for me. But I don't know. What are your theories, John, or thoughts?
So yeah, like literally until yesterday, I had heard the name in the past and had no idea who he was. So then I just like found a podcast episode where they were talking about him and they told the whole story. And it's, yeah, super fascinating, obviously. So he had like a bomb, or at least what he said was a bomb, and what convincingly looked like a bomb to
Okay.
the flight attendant.
Not the stewardess.
Yeah, we're more progressive, but by now. But the guy who was telling the story on the podcast had like his guesses, like he had his top three people who have been found who he thought it might be.
Oh.
And yeah, there was definitely the like, oh yeah, he was in the Air Force or whatever, in the Navy or whatever, dealing with planes and knew all about him. There was another one where it was just like, oh, there was a guy who had served various jobs in the airline industry, like everything from like a mechanic where he would actually get to know the planes inside and out, to just more menial stuff like moving bags around and all that stuff, and just never. And that might have been where like the grudge came from. Like he just had a grudge against the industry in general or something. One thing that was interesting with the money is that during the 2 hours where they were waiting for him to get to wherever to give him the money, they wrote down every single serial number from it was like all in 20s, but that never really ended up being a significant clue. Like nobody found like a big chunk of them all at once or anything. Like it didn't seem like that was a big lead that led anywhere. But yeah, I don't know. It's those unsolved mysteries are always fascinating. He's probably an alien.
I think like there was, yeah, like you guys are saying, there was so many things he did that was like super smart about it. And I think like the fact that it was 200,000, which is a lot of money in like 1971, that's a lot of money, but it's not like an insane amount of money where it's just like there's no way we can get you that amount of money. Like he had to make it like a reasonable amount where it's like, okay, they might be able to get me this if I, you know, if I ask politely.
Such a
And
nice guy.
it seemed like all the investigators, like after the fact, like were just so biased in thinking that like, oh, there's no way this amateur could have like survived the jump and like known how to use a parachute and not like, strung himself up in a tree or something, that they just assumed that he died during this event. so didn't even like try that hard to like find him for a while, or like just didn't take it seriously, really, like, which really set the investigation back.
What do you guys want to have happened? Or what do you feel in your heart?
I don't know. Part of me always just wants, like, being he didn't actually hurt any people. Like, yeah, let him be alive and gotten away with the money. Why not? That poor bank and their FDIC insurance.
What about you, Dave?
I feel like it would be like the ending of like Shawshank Redemption, where like he shows up on some beach and his best friend is there, and they're like, "I got all the cash, and now we can just like live on the beach in Mexico and like go fishing out on the sea." And I don't know. I think I don't know. Like part of me is like wants to like fantasize the story even more because it's kind of legendary already. Like let's push it over the top. Where like, wouldn't it be cool if this guy who did this, he was actually already rich? Like he didn't even need the money,
Oh,
but he
okay.
just did it to prove a point that like, hey, I bet you I can get away with this if I try.
Like a
Like he's
Thomas
like, yeah,
Crown.
A Thomas
he's like,
Crown.
exactly, yeah. Where he's like, yeah, I already know how to fly planes. I've done this, I've done that. He's like, I bet you I can get away with this. And then he gets away with it. I don't know. I like the fact that it kind of reminded me of like the Escape from Alcatraz. Um, but it's way more plausible that DB Cooper survived and just took his money and lived. Or Escape from Alcatraz, you might be able to convince me that they didn't make it out of those waters, but
Uh, well, isn't that a thing now? People swim from Alcatraz to wherever. Is it San Francisco?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's like a sanctioned thing now. Like
you got to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Probably
exactly.
doing it during the day.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Um, one thing is they were like, okay, after that, the TSA, is that what it is? And all these different things were changed to the way they run their airlines and their planes and all these different precautions now afterwards. So a conspiracy theory could be he's like, I gotta change the ways of flight, you know. So this is, this will grab America's attention, but more specifically the airlines. So they'll have to do some changes, like, but that's one thing. But I
that's a
also
good
read,
theory because
yeah,
that would mean like he actually worked for like the CIA and he was like a plant and he's like, I'm gonna do this, and I'll just give the money back to you. We got like a getaway car like down in the woods on this gravel road.
Ooh, we should make t-shirts. DB Cooper was an inside job.
Oh my god, I'm buy that t-shirt for sure.
uh, real quick, I want I on Wikipedia there was a list of suspects and people that try to say I did that and stuff, like either for publicity or like on their deathbed they're like I was DB Cooper, even though it's so weird that he said my name's Daniel Cooper and then it was a mistake when they were filing it. They were like DB Cooper. I don't know. I think that's bizarre. But there was people saying like there was this guy who worked for the airlines, or no, he wanted to work for the airlines for a pilot or whatever, and they were like, no. And so, or no, it was a woman who tried to, and then she got a sex change, showed up as DB Cooper, and that was the grudge. There's also a family where the FBI failed in negotiations and this little girl died. And it's the father who had the grudge against the FBI and stuff like that. There were so many suspects though. After a while, like I was like, I'm not going to read all of these, but very interesting. A lot of people are like, oh, when I was a kid, I heard my uncle say like, we're gonna take a plane or whatever. And then later on they showed up and they were all banged up and stuff. And they would like turn them in. Like years ago, I heard my uncle do this. And That's interesting. All the people that were accused by loved ones and stuff, or people that have tried to say that they were them, even though a lot of the stuff wouldn't check out. Yeah, it's crazy. Will we ever have another DB Cooper ever again?
Not
Not
with
if there's
cameras
cameras.
everywhere. Yes.
All right. Let's close this down. Like, subscribe, comment. This was a few Goldilock Bears. Go to GoldilockBears.com for all your a few Goldilock Bears needs. This was Vincent Cloud.
John Nemitz.
And David Lauer.